Hello and welcome to Fusion One Communications. Today we're going to learn how to download and set up the Zoiper softphone, which we're going to use for the telephony portion and audio portion of the dialer. We're going to learn how to log into the dialer to facilitate our phone calls, and we're also going to learn how to log into the company provided CRM and set up and schedule your appointments. So the first thing you want to do is open up a web browser, which looks something like this. If you're using Google Chrome, it'll look like this. If you have Firefox or if you have Microsoft Edge, all of those are compatible and just fine to use. So in my case, I'm going to use Google Chrome. So once you've got your browser up and running, you want to go to the address bar and you want to type in zoiper.com. That's ZOIPER.com, and then hit enter. Once you're on the Zoiper site, you're going to see on the right-hand side of the screen, it's going to have a big orange download button. So you want to click on download. It's going to bring you to another screen that's going to automatically detect your operating system. So if you're using a Mac or a Linux or something else other than Windows, it'll automatically detect it. Otherwise, if you are using Windows, it'll detect that too automatically, and all you have to do is click on Next. From this point, it's going to prompt you to sign up for their $39 plan. Don't have a heart attack. We're not going to choose this one. We want to click on the one that says Free Community. Okay. From this point, you're going to see a countdown here at the top, and it's going to automatically start the download. You'll notice here on the lower left-hand corner of your screen, it's going to download the Zoiper softphone. Once it's done downloading, I click on this icon here. For Chrome users, it'll show in the lower left-hand corner. And then, of course, you would follow through with whatever security protocols you have for downloading new applications on your PC. But at this point, you're going to have this screen here, the setup screen. So you click on Next. You can carefully read through the terms and conditions. And once you accept, you click on I accept. Click on Next. Next again. Next, you want to select it for all users for this computer. Click on Next. Because I already have Zoiper installed on my PC, it's asking, do I want to stop it? So I'll just go ahead with yes, just for the purposes of this presentation. You guys will not see the screen here. So once I click on that Next, it's going to automatically start with the installation. The next screen here is going to prompt me to launch the Zoiper, which I do want to do, so I leave this box checked. And then I click on Finish. What's going to happen is it's going to open up Zoiper, but it's going to show in the background. The way that you can see if the Zoiper is running is on the lower right-hand corner of your screen is a taskbar. If you're running Windows, you'll see a taskbar here. The Zoiper is going to look like a little black circle with a red X over it. And the reason why it's got that red X is because it's not properly provisioned just yet. That's the next step in the process, which we're about to go over right now. So if I click on this red X, it's going to open up the Zoiper software. This is actually a real phone. If I click on dial pad, I will, when we're done with this, be able to dial out any US number and connect with my headset with the computer. Okay, so you can actually make outbound calls, you can receive inbound calls right from the software here without needing any other equipment, besides, of course, your headset. So what I'll do now is click on Settings at the top. This is how we provision. So again, Settings, Preferences is what we want to select from this drop-down. And it's going to give me a screen that looks like this. So it's going to prompt me. It's going to say, hey, you've got new account set up. We're going to click on Create Account. You're going to see where it says SIP. That should automatically be checked for you because that's what we want. We're going to hit Next. And now we have 3 pieces of info to fill out. We have the first is the user, the second is the password, and then we've got the domain. Now, the password and domain is going to be the same for everybody, but the user is going to be distributed to you by your manager. So for the purposes of this presentation, I'm going to use user number 201. You don't use 201. I'm using 201. You're going to use what your manager gives you. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is put in the password, which for everybody is going to be the same. 1, 2, 3, 4. You're not going to see the numbers as you're typing them in. You're just going to see dots as placeholders, but it's going to be typing in whatever you enter. It should be 1, 2, 3, 4. Domain is going to be the same for everybody as well. Make sure you're using lowercase. So we're going to type in kcp.gofusion the number one.com. So that's kcp.gofusion, the number one.com, no dashes, no spaces, and then colon, which is the 2 dots. I'm going to hit shift colon. If I don't hit shift, I'm going to get a semicolon, which looks something like this. It's a dot on the top and then a comma on the bottom. We don't want that. We want a colon. So shift colon 50060. Again, all lowercase, kcp.gofusion, the number one.com, colon 50060. So once we have all of our 3 pieces of information, I'm going to click on next. You don't want to check this box because then it will skip the next process. We don't want to do that. So leave it unchecked. Simply click on next. And it's going to give us a prompt that's going to take up to 2 minutes for it to provision. Normally it takes a few seconds, and then you're going to get a screen that looks like this. It'll say your account has been added to the list. That means we're good to go. We've successfully completed this portion. So at this point, we click on close. From this middle window, click on close. And then it's going to prompt you with this information here. There's two more fields we need to fill out, which is caller ID name. We're going to put the same as the username that you were distributed. In my case, I'm using 201. In your case, you're going to use the same as your username. Same thing for the auth username, which is 201 for me. Whatever it's going to be for the username is what it's going to be for you. So in totality, there should be 3 fields that have the same information. So if you're prescribed 230, it's going to say 230 for username, 230 for caller ID name, and 230 for auth name. Okay. Once I'm done with that, I click on register. And there's 2 things I should see now that tells me that I did a good job. Number 1, this check mark here should be green. Number 2, it should say registered here on the right-hand side of the screen. So once I see green here and registered here, I'm good to go. I'm now ready to dial and make calls. So I can click on OK here, and that'll bring me back to this screen, or back to my Zoiper default screen, and I'm ready to start. The next thing we need to do is log into the dialer. Okay, the dialer portion, the online dialer portion of the system. So the dialer, you want to go back to your browser. We're done with the Zoiper now. We can go to kcp, all lowercase again, .gofusion, the number one.com. So that's kcp.gofusion, the number one.com, /agent. So that's agent singular, A-G-E-N-T. Then hit enter, and you should see a screen that looks like this. I'm going to move this Zoiper just a little bit so you guys can see. I'm going to make the screen just a little bigger. You can do that by hitting the control button, hold down the control, and scroll up with your mouse if you've got a scroll button on your mouse. If I scroll up, it's going to make it bigger. If I scroll down, it'll make it a little bit smaller. So you have the ability to do that on all Windows machines. I think even Macs can do the same. Now, the phone login is going to be 201 for me. It's going to be whatever you are prescribed to you. Okay. The password, again, is 1234. I'm going to click on submit, and it's going to give me a secondary screen, and I am to put in the same information, except this is for user login. There is a reason why we do 2 logins of the same. It has to do with how the dialer connects to your extension here on the Zoiper. Okay. So in my case, 201. In your case, whatever you were given. And the password is still the same, 1234, except this time you'll notice that there's a 3rd selection here for campaign. So this campaign will allow you to log into whatever campaign is available for you to dial on. And in this case, I've only got 1 campaign to choose from, it's campaign 1001, which is called Orlando Businesses. As more campaigns are loaded into the dialer, you'll have the opportunity to choose those as well. So I'll choose this campaign. And I'll explain the process that we're about to undergo here before I do it. When I click on submit, what's going to happen is the system, the dialer, is going to call my Zoiper phone right here on my computer. This is not a customer calling you in. This is simply the system, the dialer system, making a connection to your Zoiper soft phone on the computer, which will then give you the audio connectivity to be able to speak and be heard and hear the customer on the other line as well. So you're only initiating the audio portion when you do this, but it's a necessary step. So when I click on submit, you should hear ringing. I'm going to save my password so I have it for next time. Okay. I need to answer this phone call. If I don't answer, then I'm not. Okay. If I don't answer, I'm not going to be properly logged in, but I'm not sure if you heard the prompt when I was able to log in. When I answered the call, it gave me a prompt that says, you are currently the only person in this conference. That will verify that you are currently in the system, the connection is established, and now you're ready to take your dialer calls. Okay. I am now done with this portion of the Zoiper. I don't need it on my desk, although I do need it running in the background. So I'm simply going to minimize the Zoiper by clicking the minus sign here on top, and that will minimize it into my system tray. You'll notice that Zoiper now looks like an orange button with a phone inside because I have a call that is being that's initiated, it's established. Okay. Don't worry about this counter. You're not being charged minutes or anything like that. It's just how long you've been logged into the dialer session. Okay. So I'm going to minimize it again. We don't need it for any more of what we need to do with the system. It's just to connect us. From this point, you'll have the box checked for blended calling. Leave that checked and simply hit submit. I'm going to make this screen a little bigger so you guys can see. And now you'll see that we have the dialer screen in front of us. So it'll show you all the customer information, first name, last name, address, city, state, zip, etc. Typical information for what you would see on most dialers. On the right, you've got additional information. Now this on the right, you'll have the ability to enter or alter information as needed, just as you can here. If the person's address is not correct, you can make the necessary changes, and once you click on hang up customer, it'll save it for you. We'll go through that in just a second. It's worth noting though, on the upper left hand corner where it says pause and resume, whatever is grayed out is what's currently active. So because now the pause is gray, it's paused. It's not sending you any calls. Once you click on resume, that's going to be gray, and now it's going to be dialing for you on the back end. It's not going to give you any dial tone. You're not going to hear any ringing. You're not going to hear anything until somebody picks up on the other side and says hello, and then their information will automatically populate here on these fields, and you'll be able to automatically start pitching the customer. Okay. Here we go. We've got Caesars Transportation here. So this is how a call looks like when it's come in. You have the address, the phone number, all the company information here. You have the ability also to answer these questions just as you asked them. In this case, I'm going to just put some sample info here. 7 years. Phone numbers, we're going to put 7. Under contract, we'll say no. I'm not going to fill everything out, just a couple of things so you guys can see how this flows. Internet provider, we'll put Spectrum. Okay, if I can spell today. Spectrum, and then our biggest concern is pays too much. How about that? Okay. And then, after I'm done with this information here, this is a worthy client for me to follow up on, or this guy wants to set an appointment to meet with one of our sales guys. Because this customer hung up, it's giving me the option now. It's going to prompt me. Do I want to go back and continue altering and looking at the information, or do I want to finish this call in disposition? In my case, I'm going to go back, okay? Because I am not done entering my information, and I want to send this over to the CRM. And the CRM will prompt me when I click on Web Form 1. By the way, this is how you get this information to the CRM. Instead of having to log into the CRM, which is Customer Relationship Module, it's basically a lead contact management system, which is one of the products that we sell, by the way. Instead of having to log in and copy all this information or hand type it in and do a whole bunch of double lead entry, which wastes a lot of time and is not very efficient, we've set it up in such a way that you can click on one button and it'll push all this information into the CRM for you. So if I click on Web Form 1 here, not 2, but 1, it's automatically going to push this information into the CRM. So you'll notice here, I've got my phone number, I've got my address, city, state, zip, and then I have my telephony information just as I filled it out on the agent screen. I've got my customer is AT&T. The ISP is, which is Internet Service Provider, is Spectrum. Number of DIDs. DID is basically how many inbound phone numbers they have, okay? So in this case, I put that they have 7. There's my biggest concern. So whatever information that you put here on the right-hand side, as far as the custom lead information, is going to go into the telephony info. Very, very helpful when you're dealing with helpful information for the sales consultant to have when they go out there to the location, because the more info that they're handed over, the bigger the likelihood they are of closing the deal. Okay. So once I'm done entering my information or verifying or putting in my extra notes, has 4 kids, or something like that, or whatever information that they can use to help build more rapport and to close the deal, you want to put in to help the sales rep. So when you're done with that, you simply click on Save, and it's going to save this information into the CRM, and now it's able to be exported. It's able to be viewed by other viewers, and it's currently in the CRM. So if you were ever able or had to call this person again from the dialer, it's no longer going to show you the saved or the edit version, just like we saw before. It's going to show you the saved version. That keeps from having the problem of having a bunch of duplicate leads in the CRM, just because maybe somebody on the dialer inadvertently hit web form 1 again, or somebody else called this person, they clicked on web form 1, so you don't have a bunch of duplicates in the CRM. You're having the saved version, and this way it shows you all the history, all the notes that were previously taken, and if you need to edit, you can click on the edit button and make your changes accordingly. Okay. So in this case, I'm not going to edit. I've already made my changes. And what you want to do, which is a very, very crucial step now, is we need to set the appointment date and time. Okay, so if this person agreed to meet with me, or a salesperson, tomorrow at 4, or let's say they agreed to meet on tomorrow at, let's say, 12 noon, okay, because I think I have another 4 o'clock appointment on that day. So 12 noon, you go to this drop down where it says Activities. Under the Activities, you'll see where it says Create Task. We don't want to click on Create Task. You want to click the drop down next to it that says Schedule Meeting. Okay, so I schedule meeting, and it's going to open up this second panel here. My subject is going to be the person who I'm going to meet with. So in this case, I'll put Meet with Sarah. Okay, but it's typically meet with whatever person you spoke with, or whoever they're supposed to be meeting with. If I spoke to the receptionist and the receptionist verified that the manager is Tom, and Tom is willing to meet with us, then we're going to put meet with Tom. Okay. So once we're done with the subject, we want to go to start date, in which case tomorrow is the 3rd. So we're going to select the 3rd here. And the drop down gives us a time option. We're going to choose 12 noon. But understand that this is military time, so don't look for PM and AM. It's going to give all 24-hour blocks from 00 to 23. So for those of you who have trouble with military time, just start from 12. And if it happens to be something like 6 o'clock, for instance, you just go from 12 and start over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 o'clock PM happens to be 1800 hours. And that's what we're going to select if our appointment was at 6 o'clock. In this case, for the example, we're going to use 12 noon. So it's just 12. And the duration we're going to make for 2 hours. It's always a 2-hour duration, and the end time is automatically going to respond, or correspond, I should say. So make sure that when you set your appointment, you leave at least a 2-hour block, which gives the sales consultant enough time to get out there, to pitch them, answer questions, and to get to their next appointment on time or before time, just to make sure that they're not late. Okay. So once we've done this, everything else is already set in for you, as far as the notifications, as far as the emails. All that is already handled for you. So all you have to do at this point is click on Save, and the appointment is now saved. Meet with Sarah under Activities. So if I were to go to Activities here on top, if you wanted to take a look at your schedule of what you have available, you can click on Calendar. So Activities, Calendar, and it's going to show me my appointments that I have lined up for tomorrow. And here's the one we made for Sarah. So Sarah, we're meeting at 12. If we had another appointment, it would show immediately after. And I see here I have a meeting with Sam at 4, which happens to be 1600 hours. If you have the situation where somebody needs to meet or somebody would like to schedule an appointment that is outside, or I should say inside, that 2-hour window. So if they wanted to meet with somebody, let's say at 1 o'clock, and you know that this salesperson would not have enough time to meet with Sarah and get out to the other person at 1, just let your manager know. If you happen to see a scheduling conflict, your manager will be able to tell you if you've got somebody else to cover that appointment at the same time, or if we need to reschedule it or do something different to that effect. Ideally, all appointments are set for the next day, the next business day. That way it's much more fresh in the person's mind that you've spoken with. They remember you, they remember the conversation. You know, and when the consultant shows up, there's no confusion or there's no conflict of scheduling because people do forget. Very worst case scenario is we schedule 48 hours ahead of time. So if it's Thursday and we have to schedule something for Saturday, that is the most amount of time that we like to schedule out. If somebody wants to meet on Monday, then we would call them back on Friday. We would not set an appointment for Monday if it's Thursday. Okay? I'll say that again. The most amount of time that you should schedule your appointments is 48 hours out. You don't want to do anything further than that because the likelihood of the person keeping the appointment is very, very, very slim from that point. Okay? Ideally, it's 24 hours out. If they need more than 48 hours, then just let them know, hey, not a problem. What I'll do is I'll call you back on, let's say for Monday, we'll call them back on Friday just to confirm for Monday at that point, and then we would set it up on Monday at that point. Okay, so that is pretty much the gist of setting up an appointment and going through the dialer system. It's pretty repetitive from this point. The last thing I'm going to show you is once we are done speaking with this lead, whether we have an appointment or not, you want to end the phone call by clicking on Hang Up Customers, this red button here in the middle. So I click on Hang Up Customer. It's going to give me a couple of disposition or status options. And remember, it's in alphabetical order. And I can simply double click on whatever happened for that appointment. So if the appointment's been set, I can click on Appointment Set. If it's no answer, I can do that. If they're not interested, whatever the case is, I can simply double click on whatever happened. In this case, I'll put Appointment Set. Click on it twice, and it's going to bring me back to the previous dialing screen and keep dialing for me. In this case, I'm going to hit pause so I don't keep wasting leads. But that is essentially what you would, what the process looks like as far as using the dialer to automate your calls and to set up your appointments. There's no paper needed. There's no notes. Everything is right in here for you. It's all electronic, all digital, all tracked. All the calls are recorded, just so you know. So if there's something that we see that you need to improve upon, or if you have a question about something, we can always go back and reference your call and help you from there. We all are here to help. It's not a gotcha thing. It's more for quality assurance more than anything. Okay. So if you have any questions from here on out, definitely feel free to reach out to your manager and they'll be more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for watching and good luck to you.